Welcome to Whole Lot of Wolves, episode 11 of our second seasons. We're your hosts. I'm Joshua Buckley.
I'm Paul LePage.
And we're bringing back a popular guest this week, Teddy Eley in Florida. How's it going, Teddy?
Oh, wow. Thank you for the pleasantries. I'm doing pretty good, guys. What about you two?
I was doing very good at about 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Saturday.
Ruben Neves to step up. It's Ruben Neves. It deflects off the wall. It's in! It's in! It's Ruben Neves who surely wins the game on Derby Day. Incredible drama at Villa Park from 2-0 down to 3-2 up with seconds to go.
Paul, what a comeback!
Crazy. It was one of those games that immediately you want to do a podcast about, but then I'm grateful a couple of days on that you can actually take it all in and see all the fan footage and just process the whole thing, because it really felt that that's been a long time coming. And in a funny way, just having that little bit of luck, and especially with the winner, that seemed to never happened to us, or certainly hasn't done for a long time. So just to get that little bit of luck against the local rivals, 2-0 down with 10 minutes to go, whatever. It was fairy tale stuff, and it was the exact type of game that we all want to watch, and what a perfect outcome.
Teddy, what were your emotions like?
Yeah, similar. My one of my good friends is actually a Villa fan, so he video chatted me 75 minutes through singing Super John McGinn. So the video chat at the 97th minute was very pleasing for me, to say the least. Yeah, it was just sheer pandemonium. It was a awesome comeback that I felt like we hadn't had, and honestly, throughout the pandemic, can't remember a comeback win we had. So it was just great to be able to have that feeling again.
So let's talk about that last goal. Okay, great job by Adama winning the free kick. At first glance, when I saw the goal by Neves, my initial reaction was, wow, that was a really poor kick that he got lucky. It deflected off somebody. But then today I saw an angle that a fan got from behind the goal, and I stopped and did frame by frame and frame. Neves did that on purpose, guys. If you watch Saiss is right there, and as soon as the ball's kicked, he ducks in front of the defender. 100%, I'm convinced now that Neves was trying to just get as much power as he could off the defender. Am I crazy, Paul? Is that what you saw?
He's good, but he's not that good. Yeah. That was some kind of 7-10 split in 10-pin bowling that you're looking for. I was actually, when he stepped up, I was just like, nah. We haven't had, he's been so off form with his free kicks and even working the keeper that I wasn't really jumping up and down thinking, oh, we've got a chance here. I was a little negative about it. And again, that's just a little luck that he's had all these opportunities, and which is the one that matters, the one that bounces off the defender and takes 2 bounces in and goes in the opposite corner of where the keeper's going. It was like time stood still because it took all of the pace off the ball, but the keeper was nowhere near it. So you're effectively celebrating even before the ball had crossed over the line. So I think we've got to put that one down to luck, I'm afraid.
I'm going to pin that video I saw on my Twitter account at Joshua Buckley, so you can check it out. Maybe you'll feel differently seeing it, because I agree. I was looking at it originally. I'm like, man, that was just dumb luck. But I don't know. The way Saiss ran in that play, I think they knew getting it over that wall was going to be tough, and so it was, let's try this. Teddy, was it dumb luck or?
So you think he told Saiss before the free kick, Josh, to duck? Is that?
Yeah, I do, because Saiss is. I know I sound like a crazy guy. I'm telling you, I went frame by frame here. So Saiss is on the right side when the ball's being kicked. he goes in front of the defender and ducks. So the defender loses a little bit of the ball. He jumps up. Saiss looks. And even before it hits the defender, Saiss is looking back at the goal. This is my video breakdown, guys.
Yeah, I'll need to see that video behind the goal. It's possible because he hasn't scored an actual free kick in 2 years that they need to bounce it off a man, but a little unlikely, but possible.
And then we get. How about Adama winning the free kick right there, though?
Yeah, it was a highlight very much, I think, of him being able to impact a game without having an assist or an expected goal and all of that. That's the type of area that we need him in and around and causing trouble, because if he doesn't get fouled in that position, then he's going to go on and hopefully do something. Same for the equalising goal as well, that just his instinct to look up and drop a really nice ball into the back post was him impacting it really well, that it was perfectly executed, and it's not something you necessarily think of Traore to drop that perfect ball across. So that was awesome. It was just not a letdown as such, but everything we want from Traore in that first half chance without the finish. And there are some times when you think, oh, he can't shoot, or his technique's not very good, or he goes for too much power and scuffs it. But with that chance in the first half, I thought he did absolutely everything, and it was just a really good save. It's not like he missed it. The keeper kept it out. It wasn't like the Leicester chance for sure. So, yeah, I think as an attacking force, there was some positives from Traore from that Villa game, definitely.
Yeah, I kind of got bothered again because people were getting upset. Oh, Traore didn't finish that. Again, no one else would even be in that position. That was going to be that was one of the plays of the year. And it, like you said, it wasn't a bad shot. Ton of power.
Yeah.
I liked it. What do you think of his performance, Teddy?
Yeah, again, I think the second goal is a little, I guess, underrated. Like when Kilman passed it back to him, I think there were 3 defenders on him, and he still manages to dink across to the back post. I don't think any other player on our team could really do that. But yeah, I thought all in all, I will say, I felt he was a little isolated. Him and Hwang really didn't work up top at all, the two. But yeah, as always, has his moments, and yeah, helped us score 2 goals. So thought, yeah, pretty pleased with his performance.
So the game changed when Daniel Podence came in, obviously, especially that first goal. He was really a big part of it. I had this discussion with somebody online because he was saying he thinks Podence definitely should start next game. I tend to think he's in the role he needs to be in right now. 60th minute super sub. I think that was really proved on Saturday. What are your thoughts?
I think with Podence, it's a tricky one because he's not necessarily had the run of game to be judged upon, both in terms of either his form's not been there or his injury records let him down. So he hasn't yet carved that real demand to start yet. So I'm very much in favour of that more super sub role for definite, or it's a case of matching our lineup to the opposition, because I do think it was perfectly suited come Saturday that he could attack, he could be one of a forward 4 in effect and not have too much responsibility on him. I just thought the positions that he was picking the ball up in and doing damage, we don't have many others that can find those particular gaps or work magic in those areas. So I think long term there could be a role for him, but it depends on a shift in formation, and I can't see that happening just yet.
Yeah, if you heard Bruno talk about after the game, what he's looking for in the subs was someone playing behind the midfielders but in front of the defenders, and that's where he fit in perfectly. I feel like Jimenez has actually been playing a lot of so far this season as well. So he's someone that can pick up, kind of turn turn to goal and not have the defender right on him as Mings or House or Concero, much bigger than him, and would be able to take the ball if he's just trying to face right up to them. So yeah, I think he proved that perfectly, and yeah, it almost makes me want to see what a Huang Jimenez with Podence slightly behind him combination could have. But yeah, again, that would be a change in formation. I would say on the wings, he hasn't been quite as effective as he was with maybe Olympiacos earlier in his career. But yeah, I'm curious to see how he'd play in a more number 10 role for us.
Again, I think it goes two ways. You bring up his former club, and when we talk about formations, this Benfica 4-4-2 that Large is lauded for, I could see him in two roles in that. I could see him as an out-and-out left winger with the ability to come inside. That apparently is a big deal in that formation. And I could also see him as that 10, so more further forward, but definitely picking up the lines behind Raul as the pinnacle. So maybe I do generally think it boils down to Podence being better as one of many when it comes to attackers, but really only that's dictated by playing four at the back to free a man up top.
I noticed something during the game, and tell me if you guys saw the same thing. I noticed this with Adama and with Podence. There was less trying to take on the opposition and draw in defenders and a lot more quick passing. Do you think that's something that Lodge is really trying to stress with his system, that don't slow it down, make the opposition react with just pass, pass, pass?
Yeah, I guess he is definitely trying to play a more fluid game, and maybe for Adam, it's probably for the best where, if there isn't a situation where he has an immediate one-on-one to let the ball loose. But yeah, I feel like we are swinging the ball a lot more compared to recent seasons. I couldn't remember how many times that game we passed to the left wing back to Cody all the way out to right wing back, and I do feel like we arrived in similar situations once Semedo had the ball, but again, we are shifted the defense around, so maybe the coach and analysts are seeing things that I'm not seeing. But yeah, I would say compared to Nuno, definitely there has been more ball movement from every player, not just the attackers.
Okay, so we got to play devil's advocate here, and we're going to channel a whole lot of Wolves' favorite curmudgeon, Andrew Smith from Atlanta Wolves. Did Lodge get lucky on Saturday? Because he was really late subbing. I know there were a lot of people freaking out, and I myself included, at about the 65th, 70th minute. Is he going to make changes? Was that a good strategy, or was it a fluke and he needs to be better at that in the future?
I think his setup to begin with, I was quite happy with, because it was like he looked to match them, which is solid, because they got two tricky forwards that might have caused us problems. Three in the midfield that we needed to be wary of. So I was fine with that. It just seemed that our players just stunk it up pretty much. So Wang was poor, probably his poorest game in a Wolves jersey. The midfield at times were not just anonymous, didn't dominate at all, let McGinn shine. Whereas if you got three bodies in there, surely that should have made more of a difference. It seemed to pass Moutinho by a lot of times. Same goes for Dendoncker. So I think it was the case that whilst the intent behind the formation was the right one, maybe the parts didn't go in it enough necessarily. Add that to the poor form of some of the players. I think that what caused us issues, because we weren't a million miles away from Villa, but it wasn't like we were putting them under a ton of pressure either. And I think that's where the failure up front came down to, that probably both were too isolated. There was no outball or no real opportunity for advancement with the ball, or just for it to stick. I think the only time that happened really was thanks to Adama picking it up further down the pitch and advancing with it that way. So I think at the 70-minute mark, he had to go for it anyway. And did he see that whilst Villa weren't playing great, maybe they were vulnerable? That was a prompt behind it, because they certainly went into their shell, tried to play defense, and that played into our hands. And even when the equaliser went in, I definitely got a distinct impression that we were going to go for it, and it wasn't like we were going to get a draw and be happy with a smash and grab of a point. We actually went on and kicked on and ended up with a winner. So I think it's too early as a balancer word to say that Large just got lucky. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on this one.
Yeah, there's a few points I want to touch on here. I guess the first one was, I guess the last time I was, maybe 2 times ago, was when we were talking about the summer transfer window and missing out on that center midfielder that can attack through the lines or has some shooting skills, or it's just better forward than Leander Dendoncker. Again, that was his whole entire plan, and I did like it. I saw Dendoncker with a few runs up through the center mid, up to striker, or not up to. I'm trying to make through balls, some long passes, and I wasn't quite working. But again, that was the idea. And again, he was in some more advanced positions than we've normally seen him in, but wasn't able to break the lines or make Villa change their shape at all. So yeah, as we said last time, that's what we're crying out for, and hopefully in January or sometime we get that. I think the other issue was once Hwang or Traore kind of had the ball up top, there wasn't, we talked about there was no progression. And I think this really comes back to another main point of mine is the wing backs just, I feel like really aren't fulfilling their roles in the system. For Hwang is out there on the left forward spot. Marcel should be looking forward or driving some runs. If he's going forward, that opens up some space in the midfield to swing it around. I feel like he was pushed too far back. Semedo a little slightly better, but it's just this big theme in Bruno's old 4-4-2 system. He kind of had Grimaldo and I don't remember the other one, but both were pushing up, sending crosses into the box. Were some of the top assistmen of the league during his time at Benfica. And we're playing with 3 at the back now, so they have license to get forward a ton. And Semedo has had a few chances to score, but Marcel has just been tough watching him go forward. And it's really, I feel like that's the biggest issue in the team right now.
Yeah, I was gonna go to that. Marcel has been very tough to watch. Paul, why do you think he continues to be placed on the starting sheet ahead of Aït-Nouri?
Let's drop this in as a no stupid question this week from Alex Pettercas on Twitter. He asked exactly about this and wonders whether there's actually some blackmail going on that's making Marcel get the start, because he says Aït-Nouri just can't get a game even as a sub when we down, just to bring some attacking presence from that side. And I've got to my end of my tether a little bit with Marcel as an attacking force. If it was that 4 at the back, I probably wouldn't have too many issues with it if he was there purely as a left back and we needed to be solid to lock up that position. But especially when you're a wing back, it needs to have some attacking intent, attacking output, putting even more dynamic runs and creating space from your movement. It just seems that nothing really comes from Marcel's side whatsoever. And the amount of times it gets me frustrated that some positive play comes down the side, it gets to him and it either stops and gets recycled, or we cough up possession. It's very rarely that he gets the ball and does something with it. If there's question marks more over Aït-Nouri and his defensive capabilities and who he's backing up on that side of the ball, at the moment, if it's Saiss, then I'd be willing to change it all to accommodate Aït-Nouri. Let him learn on the job if it comes from defensive skills, because I'd rather see that his attacking skills put to better use, and because we know there's some output there and the defensive part of his game can come on.
I'd almost be willing to put Saiss at left wing back. He played there a couple times last year. I feel like at this point that would be a better option than what Marsal is bringing. It's just I can't. I think there's been like one cross that he's made all year. It's really rough to watch. And I thought Adama was going to strangle him at one point during the game because he couldn't get him the ball.
So many through balls opportunities as well, where he has the left foot with the curve inside to hit Adama. They just were short or long, or just didn't work. Yeah, it has to be for his defensive stability. And to be fair, Wolves have been doing a great job for the most part on defense this season, but yeah, I can't see this going on for another 30 games, but we're not training every day with Bruno, so I'm sure he's got much better reasoning than any of us do. But
so, Paul, my big question for you, as being somebody who has grown up since a mere lad watching Wolves, where does this win rank as far as like just sheer excitement and importance, being that it's a rival? Is this anywhere near top 20, top 10 Wolves games?
Yeah, definitely. I think that you can isolate certain games, like you can't really put it in the same category as a playoff win in a final or a one-off game or a significant cup game. If you do look at it as a standard game as part of a league season, then definitely probably getting close to top 10 in the circumstances around it, being a rival, being 2-0 down, be it in the Premier League as well, so the best league in the world, like all the spotlight on it. And for literally not only a last minute winner, but a last minute winner 5 minutes into stoppage time at the end, yeah, it's definitely up there for sure.
There were some Villa fans on Twitter complaining like, oh, you guys are acting like you won the Premier League. Is that just saltiness?
Oh, big time. Just because stuff like that doesn't happen every week. So when it does, it's a genuine opportunity to make the most of it. So yeah, you're going to maximize the enjoyment. You're going to maximize the celebration and everything that came from it. And I bet you $100 they'd be doing exactly the same thing if it was them. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And talk about Teddy. We're still kind of new to Wolves fandom, but seeing just the scenes from the away supporters at the game, what were your feelings like? Is it really make you want to just go there and be a part of that?
yeah, especially being in the away. Was it a similar game or last minute winner, but in the home fan section, so you can't quite be cheering them on as much. But yeah, being in the away fans, just going with your group of friends or whoever, the whole community, everyone's there rooting for the same things. Definitely, yeah, a feeling that I think both me and you, Josh, hope to have sometime soon. And yeah, just all the limbs up in the air, and loved watching the Villa YouTube fan reactions. Were just, yeah, I just still watch them. They just make me smile every time. So it was great.
I loved watching all the reaction videos
Yeah.
that were floating around on Twitter from Wolves fans. Just tremendous. I loved how long they stuck around celebrating. I loved the players throwing their jerseys into the crowd.
Jose Sarr running the whole length of the pitch to celebrate twice. I love Patricio's celebration, but that was on a whole nother level. It's awesome.
One other thing I noticed in the celebration after the game was Lodge started to go over with the players, thanking the away supporters, and then he stopped and pointed at the players, clapped some more, and walked away. I thought that was really cool because that's somebody acknowledging, hey, thank you, fans, everything, but these are the guys that got it done. As much as I love Nuno's fist pumps, I also really respected that out of Lodge. And I think that's something the players are going to like too.
Yeah, it's their moment. If that's genuine, which you think it could well be, then I think that talks to the measure of the man, which is good. I love the one photo today that it was on the official channel, and it was just someone's tennis shoe that had been left. Completely empty stadium and a tennis shoe right in front of the away end. Can you imagine leaving somewhere and thinking, where's my shoe gone? Brilliant.
I'm guessing he didn't even care either.
Yeah. Hopped all the way home, happy as he could be.
I try to discover a little something to make me sweeter. Oh, baby, refrain from breaking my heart. I'm so in love with you. I'll be forever blue. That you give me no reason why you make me work so hard. That you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no, that you give me no soul. I hear you calling, oh baby, please give a little respect to
On to Saturday we go. It's going to be a tough trip to Eland Road to face Leeds United. And to help us break down the opponents, we welcome back Dave Geckel. He joined us ahead of both fixtures last season. How's it going, David?
Good. Hi, Josh. Hi, Paul. Good to be back on. And I'm give a quick shout out to Danny at Be More Wolves. Known him for a few years now. We played Ultimate Frisbee back in the day.
Oh, awesome. That's like small world of EPL American-based soccer fandom. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're really excited to have him in the Wolves family, bringing up Baltimore Wolves. Are you guys going to watch the game together?
Yeah, I think we're going to try to watch it somewhere. We haven't nailed down a place yet since neither of us really have a supporters bar in Baltimore.
Maybe you can do what we did at Nick's place here in Houston, where it's West Ham and Wolves. It's the home pub. So you guys could do that with Leeds and Wolves. Could be interesting.
Be a good partnership. I don't have any hate in my heart for Wolves.
And I agree. I feel like the EPL is better off with Leeds United. But right now, you've only got one win in 8 games. Like, what's going on here?
Oh, that's a good question. So the Southampton game might have been the worst Leeds performance I've seen under Bielsa. Like the 2 Brighton matches last year and then this Southampton match we were just awful. And we had players out, but no shots on target. You could have 11 backups in and you should be able to get a few shots on target against Southampton. They just haven't looked themselves a lot this year. It's hard to really say if it's just, I don't want to say it's Bielsa burnout or second season syndrome, but they have had a lot of the core of the squad has been the same since Bielsa took over 4 years ago. So I guess maybe it needed more refreshing. Every Leeds fan said they needed help at center mid, and we didn't sign anyone in the offseason. And so you have a small squad, you have injuries, you're going to have issues. But at the same time, they looked outclassed by Man U and Liverpool and Southampton last week. But Newcastle, Burnley, they didn't play very well, but got a result. Newcastle, they absolutely bossed the first half, but didn't put them away and only got a draw. West Ham and Everton, they looked comparable too. And Watford, they totally dominated. So it could be they're just a bit unlucky, and the Southampton match makes me think the sky is falling. But it definitely doesn't seem as good as it was last year.
Has it prompted any of the fan base to start looking over the shoulder and potentially fears of doing a Sheffield United?
Leeds fans are a generally negative bunch as it is.
We know the feeling.
The 16 straight years in the championship has done it to us. I think, like I just said, you look at some of their matches, maybe they were a bit unlucky here or there. A couple of times, Dan James got taken down in the box, no penalty. Maybe given a penalty changes the game. But it's definitely, it seems like it's not going to be as good as it was last year. I think they're in for a fight this year in terms of staying up. but I think they should get it done.
So how important was it for you to hold on to your star assets during the summer, especially Calvin Phillips and his showing during the Euros?
Yeah, it was great to see. As a Leeds fan, you're like, I guess he is really good, and it's not just my Leeds colored glasses. And the good thing about Calvin Phillips is he's born and raised in the area. He was an academy product. Villa came calling the season before Leeds got promoted. So unless it's $100 million bid, I don't see him leaving, at least in the near future.
So how do you keep the Vultures from trying to swoop in the January window, especially if you guys are looking in that relegation zone?
I think in general, January are usually for players that kind of aren't playing. It's other than like Bruno Fernandes, I can't remember the last kind of change a whole team kind of signing. So if people are going to come for Rafinha or Phillips, it's going to have to be like a crazy bid. And I think the Leeds board knows that if we lose Phillips, we're screwed. Like we didn't find a replacement for him. We can have Pascal Stroik and kind of Robin Koch for more center backs try to play there, and it never works. Like they can handle the defensive responsibilities, but just like the passing from Phillips, not many players anywhere have it.
So you're at home on Saturday. How's that going to dictate the team's shape and intent in the match?
I guess I haven't been watching a lot of Wolves, but when Wang and Jimenez play together, is it more of a two up top, or does one kind of play more out wide?
It's more Wang from the left-hand side, but more tucked in, not really hugging the touchline. So there started to be some synergy between those two a little more centrally.
So that's probably going to be tricky for Leeds, because generally they play one more center back than the opponent has strikers. So if it's 4-4-2, they'll go 3 center backs. And if it's more of a lone striker, they'll go 2 center backs in a 4-1-4-1. So I think that could give us problems, and people could lose Wang if he's more of a rover. But home or away, Leeds are going to try to attack. And after the Southampton performance, you would hope to see some improvement and some attacking intent. Rafinha didn't play last week because he got back from international duty super late. So I would expect him to play. So that'll change our offense drastically, because he's been about the only bright spot attacking wise, because Patrick Bamford's missed the last 3 matches. So my guess is hopefully Phillips will play. He was close last week and didn't play. So I think this week he'll probably be close again. So they'll probably line up a 4-1-4-1, and maybe you see Phillips drop into that third center back role if kind of they lose Wang on the outside.
So if Phillips can't go, who would you say are the danger men that we got to watch out for?
Or Rafinha for sure. I know Wolves always have those attacking the wing backs. So Rafinha plays on the right side, and I guess that's Marcall is the left back. And Dan James, they signed for Man U, his end product isn't there, but he is dangerous. So Semedo on the right side can't get forward at will, especially if Leeds have possession. So I would say Rafinha is probably the only attacking player to watch out for, but Dan James can be dangerous as well.
We know all about dangerous wing players with no in game.
Oh, that reminds me of, I saw this on Twitter. Someone asked if you could give anyone, like Football Manager goes 1 to 20. If you could give anyone a 20 in one attribute, what would it be?
It would have to be Adama 20 in shooting for us.
That was the kind of the majority of the answers.
I could see that. And then everybody would be opening the checkbook.
That's true.
I did find the Dan James signing very interesting, because I think it set the market for Adama, because there were rumors that Adama may be going for around that same price. But then when James went for it, I was like, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I tend to think Adama is worth at least 15 million more pounds than Daniel James is.
Yeah, I would have to agree. As far as taking people on, Dan James is good at that, but Traore is like in a class unto himself. But it's just so frustrating when you have a guy that's can burn everyone down the wing and then just kicks it into row Z. It's just it's the worst. The one chance we had in the first half, Dan James was in pretty decent crossing position, hit it right at the keeper. It's just, especially when you're not creating. And I know like you guys had trouble scoring at the beginning of the year, and a lot of it was like, Traore, put it in the net. Like that Leicester match in the first match of the season. I was watching that.
Yeah. Can this type of momentum from the Aston Villa game carry over, or is it just going to be one of those, hey, you just got to start from scratch?
I think the Wolves have been notorious, the victims of after the Lord Mayor's show, that you've had a great result and then come crashing back down to earth. But I'm not optimistic. It's going to be certainly a tough place to go, as it always is. And I think on paper, you would always take a point going to Ellen Road to play Leeds. But I think some of the things that David was saying in particular, that they're at home, that they're going to have to attack. They're going to have to attack because they've only got one win on the board so far this season, and they're probably looking to us as an opponent as one that may be fallible. So I think that may play into our hands somewhat. So we could be playing them just at the right time.
Yeah, I know they've had a bunch of injury issues this season, and I couldn't remember if he said if he thought Phillips was going to be back or not. Do you guys recall?
It seemed to be kind of a question. He wasn't
Okay,
quite sure.
because he's actually super influential. If he's not there, I reckon we'll beat him at least 2-0. Yeah, they have no Bamford up top. I think they're on their second and third string center backs, and they I've watched them a few times, and they've been just not anything they were compared to last season. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling more optimistic than I usually am for a game like this.
It's pretty obvious, but it really does show you the importance of goals and having a goal scorer in the Premier League, that if they're taken away, then suddenly you're up against it.
I mean, we saw that last year when Raul got hurt. We
Yeah.
got with our pants down.
Say also what a couple injuries can do to your best players, middle of the pack teams. Take 2 players away from any of the mid-table teams, and they'll be struggling.
So, any lineup changes you would make? I think all three of us are thinking Aït-Nouri over Marsal, but any other changes?
We got to get Bolly back in. I was at 2-0 down. I was frustrated and a little embarrassed and lashing out on social media, and one of those was towards Sice. You can't be getting done like he did against the centre midfielder up the corner of the pitch for him to get the ball in for that goal. Just put him in the stands, and it always seems that there's that opportunity of a mistake from Sice, or could do something better. So I think there's, if there was again any chance of making a change, then I really want to see Bolly come back in. I thought Kilman potentially question mark with Cody over the goal. I think one of them should have done a better job on ins, but apart from that, I thought Kilman was great again, and just his ability to be calm on the ball and bring it out, and even when he's under pressure, he'll find a pass or advance the ball. I just want to stick with him through thick and thin at the moment and just let him play. So it's, for me, it's, I think Coda retains his place and Bolly comes back in. Whether they switch sides, Bolly was always comfortable on the left coming up from the Championship. So maybe that can be done. He comes back in on the left without too much disruption. But if he does come in on the left, then I'd love to see Outner come in. I really.
Yeah, if we're making one defensive change, I'm okay with Marcel staying another week. But I will say on the right center back, yeah, as Paul talks about, I see Kilman. I think he, faked out his defender a few times. Definitely, brought the ball up the pitch and made some forward progression that we're not quite seeing on Sais's side. So I think bringing Bolly in could bring the extra dimension. And I really doubt we start with 3 center midfielders again. We'll probably go back to Jimenez weighing in Traore. I think Trincao still has COVID. So I think, I'll be back to the 5-2-3 this next game here.
That's what I think. And speaking of Kilman, since he's popped up here, I saw something that said if Max Kilman played for a bigger club, there would be calls for him to get called up to the national team. Do you agree with that, Paul?
There was calls for Ryan Bennett to be called up into the international team when
Lord,
we were on a good run in our first season, and I was probably one of them. So it shows how much I know. But there is a player playing well and then thinking that a player is on that other level. He could be. I think he's got a lot in his locker, but I think it's a little in its infancy to think about international honours for England now. Who knows if one of his parent countries come.
Yeah, I thought Ukraine, actually called for him once or twice. So.
Yeah, who knows? It could be. He could take that opportunity because we're still talking about him as a relative youngster who had this journey through the academy, picked up after not going the traditional route. He did play football for England at futsal, so that's something. But,
that's what I heard once or twice.
But it's not like he's a young pup. What is he? 24 now, 25. So and whilst a defender's not going to come into his prime really till 28, getting on 30, maybe stretch it out to 32. You've got to be thinking now that 24, 25, it's a chance of putting your stake in the ground that you're going to hold down a position and keep it. I think this time next year, if he's still starting for the Wolves, then that would be the time to talk about international honours.
If he's not starting for Wolves, we better have made some dang good signings, man. We really should have, because he's in my mind top 3 as far as most valuable player.
So far he's one of the first names on the team sheet, which really says something.
Yeah.
Really does.
Which Saw is moving up my list as well as far as team MVP. He's been great in the last few games. He's been giving up those 2 goals. Okay, so let's hear predictions. I think Teddy's already given us a sneak peek at his.
Yeah, sorry. Quick side note: I did a little Wikipedia research. I guess Kilman did, because he played futsal for Ukraine or for England. He cannot play for Ukraine and has to play for England. So,
wow, that
really
locks him down. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Even he can't apply for a one-time exception.
Yeah, so they rejected his application. Or the application. So
that sucks for him.
But yeah, predictions. Yeah, I'm thinking 2-0 for Wolves. I'm normally not this optimistic, but they are not looking good, especially if Phillips is out.
You have had a little pep tonight, I must say.
Maybe that win just still has me excited on a Monday night at 10, but
I'm going to rein it in just a little bit that I'm not as pessimistic as we were going there last season, but I've still got a fear that it is a tough place to go. So I'd be happy with the point, and I'm going to go 2-2.
I'm struggling here, Paul. I agree with you on a point. And my normal thing is I don't say Wolves are going to score 2 goals until they prove it. They've kind of proved it now. So I'm going to say... Yeah, I'm going to say, you know what, Teddy. I'm going to go with Teddy, 2-0. Because I want to say that it would be a point, but I just don't see Leeds scoring 2 goals right now based on what David was telling us as far as their injury situation. Now, I'm going to jump on Teddy's reasoning there and say 2-0.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I'm wrong, I'm blaming you, Teddy.
I know. Watch this get smashed.
Okay, Paul, we got any no stupid questions this week?
One or two, and it is the part of the show where it's over to you, our loyal listeners, to get in touch and ask us anything you want about the Wolves, be it our history, players, lineups, match day experience, something about the city of Wolverhampton, you name it. You can get in touch with us on the socials, which is at WLW Pod on Facebook and Twitter. You can also email them to hello@wholelotofwolves.com, and it is very much a player themed no stupid question section this week. We already had Alex's question about Marcel. Another one we had through was Wolves Rated on Twitter. They're at Wolves Rated, which is a good account to follow. They ask
Absolutely.
not so much of a stupid question, but a stupid prediction. Odds on Fabio Silva failing to score a first team goal this season.
I found it really fascinating when I saw him ask this, and I got to thinking about it, and I was like, he may be right as far as a league game, because he's clearly, I mean, he came in late in the game on Saturday, but it was because Lodge was trying to hold out Raul as long as he could because of the jet lag. I still think maybe in some late time he might be able to draw in a penalty or something like that, but I could see it also happening. He doesn't score a first team goal.
Yeah, we're placing odds on it. Maybe say 15-1. I
think
really-
that's fair. I think that's fair.
I think he will. Yeah, there's 30 games left. If someone gets injured, might end up starting. And he is a quality finisher. We've seen it time and again. So, yeah, not too.
I thought it was a tidy little cameo on Saturday that he put out there, that it was 15, 20 minutes. He was certainly in and around the second goal, I think, but in the positions where you want him to be. He really forced down, I can't remember which centre-back it was, but he put the pressure on him. The centre-back tripped over the ball. Yet the ref gave a foul, and that it was like, man, that was really unfair. He was through on goal if that had played on. We'll probably see enough of Fabio that he gets a couple this season, and I think it's just going to come down to game time and minutes.
Interesting thing on Fabio, did you guys see the video that Wolves put out on their social channels when they were unveiling the FIFA rankings?
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
So I watched that whole video because I think it's fantastic. It's really a good watch. Number one, they try and fool him originally. And how about John Ruddy stepping up and defending his teammates when he thinks they're getting yelled at about something? But I thought it was interesting. They brought somebody up and they were just showing the ratings, and then they were trying to guess who the player was. And one came up and they all started saying, Golden Boy, the Golden Boy. And Cody was like, yep. Fabio Silva, the Golden Boy. I don't know. Is that just playful joshing, or is that a legit, like, these guys think it's a joke?
Yes, it's a tricky one. I think it is just gentle joshing, but it's no matter what, that type of narrative goes with him, regardless. So he can't do anything about it. He may as well just soak it up and put that down to banter and everything. But it just goes to show that stuff like that carries a stigma. Like his price tag, he's always going to have that label on him, and he's either going to be a £35 million flop, or he's going to turn into that golden boy and it's going to be a 65, 75 million pound player on our hands in a couple of seasons. Which one's it going to be, blue pill or red pill?
Yeah, I thought that video overall was really good, especially when Ruddy was like, when someone asked what does silver mean, it means it's shit, and then he is a silver like 2 minutes later. Thought that was pretty funny there.
I love too when they were making fun of the photos of him and they had Adama smile and he did like did this smile.
Yeah, and then Trincow's hair as well.
Yeah. They were dogging Trincow's hair. Definitely go back and look at that. I always find it funny how they do creative ways, and that was definitely another high quality spot from Gemma and the social media team over there.
Okay, Wolfman Jeff is next up. He's at Soccer in South on Twitter and a regular guest on this podcast. He asked December, Saiss and Bolly at the Africa Cup of Nations, do we put Marcel in at the back or shake the loose change out of our under 23s?
I mean, a U23 player shouldn't see the pitch once this season outside of last 2 games coming on at the 90th minute. Yeah, I think Marcel just slots in at left center back and Aït-Nouri comes on, or Højbjerg plays at left center back.
I think that's the only thing that he's got going for him. Marcel is that versatility. That's why he's in and around the squad. I don't want to jinx him or anything, but isn't it crazy that he's managed to string these 8 games together without an injury either? Like,
damn it, Paul, don't do that. Now he's going to come out with some soft tissue injury.
He's looked like he's been injured like 3 times this season.
You're just waiting on it again. Oh, it's cramp. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm going to text some nasty emojis to you if he leaves out of the game Saturday. I think this is when the back four has to be tried. At least that first game, they're all out. And that might be an opportunity for Aït-Nouri to start at left back, keep Marcel on the bench. So that way, if Cody and Kilman aren't working together, he could come in or even come in for a midfielder. I'd like to see the back four used at that point, but holy cow, we got some rough games in December, man. It's just bad timing for both of those guys to be out, especially with Mosquera being hurt.
It just doesn't seem that we've got that loose change in the under 23s either. It seems that if you have got a pulse or any remote chance of maybe continuing your professional career either at Wolves or for a decent signing to go elsewhere, that you shipped off on loan for a season. So every one of the players that's been talked about as a potential next in line, I don't think they're at Compton anymore. They're elsewhere, where it doesn't seem to be that we've got that ready-made replacement who's untried from the 23s on the bench, like the role that Kilman used to take. We used to look at Kilman thinking he's on the bench. We don't know necessarily what he's going to be like. And fortunately for us, he's turned into a very reliable, certainly squad player challenging for automatic starter. It's not like that we've got that other player to come off the bench in that profile anymore.
One thing I could see happening if Bruno Jordal is fit, I could see Den Donker starting at the back, as long as then you have Bruno there as a backup midfielder.
Yeah, so that extends into the next No Stupid Question, as Andrew Barlow asks about the midfield and says that seems we only have 3. Will we see any of Luke Kundle, and is Jordao going to be fit by December time? So I haven't even got a clue what the prognosis is on Jordao. I thought he was still waiting to come off the bench from that Europa League game, still at Molineux waiting, but
yeah. Hey, you are cold tonight, Paul.
He's got some nice pictures on Instagram of beaches around the world and everything. I'm not overly jealous, but yeah, yeah, as Kundle, will he end up getting thrown in there and suddenly we discover we've got a gem on our hands? I don't know. It's Jordao showed flashes, but regardless of how long he's been out for, that's a lengthy period of time, and it's going to take certainly a few weeks and probably a few warm-up games for the under-23s before he even gets anywhere close to match sharpness. So, it's still a paper-thin squad. It really is.
I think this next month is going to be very important because if they can rattle off a bunch more points like they have in October, I think Lodge is going to be like, okay, I've proven I can win. You guys don't need to be waiting until the end of January to make some moves. We need to make some moves early January. And I'd like to already see them line up in December to get ready to bring in some center mids or a center back, especially from teams that are really struggling financially here in January. I think a couple loan deals might be able to get it done. And I'd like to see that early January.
Yeah, definitely. It's not something we've been known for in the past, but it really would be certainly a bonus that we've got our ducks lined up in a row and we strike first and we strike hard and get in there early and make a difference to the team at the earliest opportunity.
Paul's got the Cobra Kai mentality in the transfer window. By the way, I know, Teddy, you're a big Sven Botman guy. Did you see what happened to that poor guy?
No, I did not. What happened?
He apparently took a ball very squarely in the nether region, and he's out for 4 weeks.
Sheesh.
Yeah, it's brutal. I happened to run across that on Twitter. Yikes.
Was there a video attached?
No, there was not a video, thank goodness. There's just a photo of him lying on the pitch.
Jeez. All right, finally, Chris Wood on Twitter. It's based off Mount Rushmore of Wolves player face expressions celebrating that last goal on Saturday that's been doing the rounds. So Chris asks, who would be on your Mount Rushmore of Wolves players?
I feel like Bakary Sacco definitely has to be up there for me. Helder Costa, his first season there. Definitely Raul has to be there, and I think we'll finish it out with Connor Cody probably.
Sweet.
Connor Cody wished me happy birthday. Remember that, Paul? He would definitely be in my Mount Rushmore, 100%. I was gonna try and come up with some answer that was like, oh, Ryan Bennett, and I think everybody knows who one guy on my Mount Rushmore would be. But also, you gotta put Bully on there, right? Great guy, and Carl Henry too. Got a chance to do some research on him before we got a chance to talk to him last year, and I'm still learning the history of Wolves, so I'm really curious to hear your answer to this, Paul, because I feel like you're really have that knowledge to answer this correctly and give me, and maybe Teddy would agree, an opportunity to look up some of these guys and see the history.
Yeah, I think with anything like this, I'm gonna, and I think everyone should, whether you're being a fan for a season, 10 seasons, getting on for 35 for me, I think it's always within that frame of reference that it's your blinkers that you've got onto these players. So for me, obviously Steve Ball's up there just as seeing the real, like, probably for me, actively the tail end of his career, but still getting all of the influence that he brought from pretty much the 10 years at the club he was previously. So we wouldn't have been where we were when I started watching if it wasn't for Bully, for sure. So he's on there. And then I look to the significant moments of my fandom. So my second one was contributed to our first promotion, my first ever trip to watch Premier League football. For me, the guy that summarizes that up is Alex Ray, who scored the winner in the second leg of the playoff semi-final away at Reading. And it was 1-0, but that ball hit the back of the net and you just knew it was destiny then. And off he went. He did this jig that's synonymous. So that summarizes that period of my fandom. So I went to do one for the Mick McCarthy era. And the player that I'm going to single out and include there is Matt Jarvis, who was a flying left winger who did really well in that championship promotion season. It was always a standout player, contributed assists and goals. And when he went up to the Premier League, he didn't look like he missed a beat. It really suited him. And unfortunately, when we went down, he was one of the players that they circled up and picked off, and he went to West Ham. But he even did that with some dignity. He was still playing championship football for us till the end of that transfer window, and then he left, but it was as expected, and he did it with dignity and the way it should be done. And I think during that time, having our first England player capped since Bully, that was a stake in the ground for his type of play and what he brought to the team. So he's on it for me for definite. And my last player from this current era is Raul, just because, again, he came into the Premier League and looked like he was ready-made for it, and that doesn't happen very often. It is very rare to get a number 9 that really leads the team and is the fulcrum and he's the main man in every step of the way. Now, could he in the future maybe succeeded by Ruben Neves if he stays with us forever and takes us to Champions League? Who knows? But as it stands, that is the Mount Rushmore of Paul's Wolves support in life.
That's great. I knew you'd have some really historic answers there.
It's making me feel really old, but still.
I think this is good because, Paul, when you first brought up this podcast, like, this was part of what you wanted to do, to be able to teach younger fans and US fans more of the history. So I like questions like that. So good job by Chris Wood.
I still think that's a good reflection of positive social media that you can pick up on as well, that many of these players are still around, and you get their input, or they get talked of fondly, or they get a memory of the day from an official channel, or a fantastic goal that they scored, and that may be getting on for 10, 15 years ago, but thanks to that social media circulation, thanks to the availability of the footage, it's something you can watch even if you are a new fan and appreciate and think how that would reflect in the modern game. So that's one benefit that we've got going for ourselves for sure. Okay, moving on. We have some supporter club shout outs to run by our listeners this week. Brian Donnelly in Charlotte, North Carolina. He was in touch to let us know that he was part of a small group meeting for the first time to watch Saturday's game together. He said there were 4 Wolves fans and 2 Villa fans in the brewery that they met up in. So that certainly would have been pretty special with the outcome of the game, to watch it in the presence of the opposition as well. So I told Brian that I would ask if there are any of you listening that are either in Charlotte or nearby that would travel in and be interested in going along to games in the future and watching as a group, to get in touch, and then we will pass it on to Brian. And similarly, I'm in the process of sharing contact details amongst 3 sets of separate fans from the Dallas area who've all been in touch in the past couple of weeks. So I'll add to that if there is anyone else from Dallas interested in mobilizing into a group, then it definitely seems that there's potential for numbers to gather there. So again, reach out to us on the socials or by email, and we'll make sure you're included in those initial plans.
All right. And before we bring the show to a close, Teddy, remind our listeners how they can get in touch with you.
Cool. Yeah, thanks again for having me on, Paul and Josh. Always enjoy it. Yeah, you can find me Teddy Eley, Eley, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, all the above. And right now living in Boca Raton, Florida, so South Florida. Might try and make it to Miami for a game or 2, but normally I'm at a Lion and Eagle pub in Boca Raton on game day. Yeah.
Are there any other Wolves fans that join you out there?
Yeah, there's actually one bloke from Wolverhampton proper, so it's always me and him watching the games together against 30 Man United fans. So it's always good.
We need some Wolves support in Boca Raton for Teddy.
Oh yeah.
And it's also the NBC Fan Fest this weekend as well in LA. So it'd be interesting that if we get some Wolves coverage and fans showing up for that one as well. So be on the lookout for the jerseys showing there also. So it brings this week's show to an end. Please continue to do what you do in terms of liking, subscribing, reviewing Whole Lot of Wolves on the podcast platform you find yourself listening to us on. We'll be back again next week to review the Leeds game and then preview a Monday fixture for game week 10 when we host Everton at Molineux. So in the meantime, it's up the mighty Wolves.